Hey everyone, it's Tyler, the Rustic Nerd Dad. This is going to be my first cosplay attack video. So basically, if you've ever seen the show Art Attack, it's very craftsy. I grew up on that, so I'm starting my own called Cosplay Attack, where I teach you guys some basic tutorials of things for cosplay that you can do at home yourself. So today, a very short video. I'm going to be showing you how to create a flat mold out of something very simple. So what we have here is I've got my A that I'll be using on my Captain America helmet. I wanted to cast this as a separate piece. It is slightly curved, but I am doing it on a flat surface. I've created a basic wall using craft foam and made sure that all of the areas are sealed. And I did that with glue. A really good glue to use is like a hot glue. In this case, I just used super glue. Just made sure that all of the areas that the silicone could leak out are sealed. So what I'm going to be using for this mold is a 2-part silicone mix called Oomoo 30. Okay, so when the two get mixed together, so this one's like a dark, well, no, it's like a purple. This is pink. These get mixed by a 1:1 ratio, and it's important to read like the product you're using. Because not everything is going to be a 1:1 ratio. It'll be like a weight or volume. So for example, this is 1:1 by volume or 100/130 by weight. So depending on how you're doing your measuring, it's important to check it. Also, it's important to read. So for example, this, once it's mixed, the pot life is 30 minutes. That means once you've mixed the two together, once the catalyst starts, you have basically 30 minutes to mix the two together and then put it on the piece that you want to mold. So that is actually a fairly decent amount of time, 30 minutes, depending on what you're working on. In this case, it's a flat mold, pretty basic, pretty easy. So we shouldn't really need 30 minutes. And then it says at 73 degrees, it needs about 6 hours for cure time, which again isn't too bad. You can hear my son probably in the background running around, being a little bit crazy. But yeah, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So I've got 2 cups, okay? Obviously I've used these for painting before, but the insides are clean. Normally I like to use like to use clear ribbed cups, but I've got these red Solar-Lite cups left over, so I'm going to go ahead and use these. So basically, since it is a small mold, basically all I'm going to really do is I'm just going to look at approximately how much I need to cover. And, you know, looking at these 2 cups and the volume, I'm probably only going to need up until this mark here on this cup. So I'll fill one with A and I'll fill another one with B to the same mark. And then I'll pour B into A and then I'll stir them together. And I'll show you guys what that looks like. Also, before officially pouring and using, I like to mix and stir the contents. So in this case, this Oomoo's been sitting, so it's a little bit old. It's already pretty thick. So we'll see what we can get out of it. Hopefully we can make use of it. All right, so that's stirred up there. And then I'm going to go ahead and stir up some of the B compound, which is still very much good. So let's go ahead and try to do this so you guys can see. And I'm okay with, in this specific situation, I'm okay with using a little bit more than I normally would, for two reasons. Basically because this is older and it's been sitting, and secondly, it's, again, I've had it for a bit, so I might as well just go ahead and use it. So it's not going to have much of a shelf life left. So yeah, that is really clumpy. I don't like that. So let's get, get that out of there. Oh, that's better. So I'm going to switch that cup out. Now, if I had kept this in a location that would have kept a decent temperature and made sure that it was like decently sealed, it probably would have lasted longer, had a longer, but okay. So again, just trying to reach the same amount. Yep, I think that's all I'm going to get, because again, I'm at the very end. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take B and I'm going to pour it. So I've got the B and we've got A. So I'm going to pour B to A. There was a little bit less of A than there was B, so I'm not going to pour. You know, the nice thing about what I've noticed from most smooth-on products is that you don't have to be 100% exact. But that's just an experience thing. You'll come to learn like what ones are, like you do absolutely have to be exact and what ones you don't. Oomoo 30 is usually pretty good. But yeah, you definitely don't want to overdo B. But I'll show you guys what this will look like in a minute here. Because it's no longer going to be... Oh, I guess, sorry. B was blue, so it's going to mix, obviously, pink with blue becomes purple. Can't remember if that's exactly what I said earlier or not, but it's been a while since I've used Oomoo. So, and when it comes to molding the Captain America helmet, I'll be using Mold Star 16 Fast. So obviously, if Fast is in the title of the name of the product, it has a shorter pot life and it's going to cure a lot faster. And I chose that for a reason, which I'll go over in that video. So again, nothing I'm doing here is supposed to be like perfect technique. This is basically like if somebody was doing this DIY at home, that all could be done. So I'm switching to a popsicle stick here so I can scrape the edges a little bit better. But basically, here you go. Now it's purple in there. It's mixed pretty good. And because it is older, it is thickening up pretty quick. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in. When it's more runny, you know, it's good to try to get the air bubbles out. This is already pretty thick, so I'm just going to make sure it gets in there. Normally it's not this thick. Again, this stuff is kind of old. Looks like I've got some extra in there. So I'm going to push this around in the mold, make sure that kind of squishes some of that air out of there, get some of the air bubbles out, as well as getting into the detail of the piece that I'm trying to mold. Now the nice thing is once I let this sit, it'll pretty much self-level for the most part. That's one thing I do like about Oomoo. But yeah. So again, this is a very, very small mold. You know what, I've got some left. I don't have anything else prepared to mold, so I might as well just use up what I've got. You can probably hear my daughter Celine being a little bit upset there now. Been a big, busy day for everybody. Again, it's Easter, you know. Lots of fun stuff going on for everybody. We had some house renovations to work on, so we did that, and now I'm just taking a little bit of time for me and you guys, so. All right. Make sure it's getting in there. All right, so I'm gonna call that a day, and we will, or I will come back in 6 hours and show you guys the result. And then I'll actually do a test cast out of it as well, so you guys can see a little bit of a process on that. Okay? All right. See you in 6 hours. Okay, well, it's been about 6 hours, so let's take a look at this. So as you can see, it's hardened. So it's got kind of like a squishy feeling to it. Yeah, it didn't quite self-level like it normally does. I think just mainly because it has to do with it being older. But, so, basically what I do when it comes to this, I just rip the, because it's foam, doesn't hurt anything. I just rip that off. And again, we're doing this on a budget build, so we're not doing anything overly special. So then we should be able to just take this master and pull it back. So there we go. There's the original, there's the mold cavity. And some of you might be thinking, well, why don't you have like a wall up here? Well, all I'm trying to get is the A, so. Now, unfortunately, this mold does have a couple imperfections due to it being older, but it'll still give me what I'm looking for anyway, which isn't a whole lot of anything special, so. All right. So I've got the mold down here, and I'm gonna throw some trusty gloves on. Alright, so we've got some Kick It accelerant, which would help the urethane cure faster. And you don't need very much of that. And then we've got 30 Shore Vitaflex. And of course, just like the silicone, there's parts A and B. Don't need very much, because again, all I'm casting is the A. So, and this is a mixing at 1:1 ratio by weight or volume. Because we don't need very much, I'm literally just going to coat the very bottom of the cup here, just ever so slightly. Use a different cup here. Okay. Again, I don't need very much. And just because I want this to cure more quickly so I can show you guys the outcome, I'm going to throw some Kick It in here. And again, I don't need very much. Like, I probably used more than I probably needed to, but it comes out pretty quick. And whenever you add Kick It or your color, so I've got So Strong color tints, you can't really tell that this is white. Kind of got dirty there, but this is white. So I'm just going to cast this A in white to make it nice and easy. I don't have any powders at the moment to make it look metallic or anything, but we're just doing some basic stuff. So we'll go ahead and give that a stir. Now, with a little application like this, I'm basically going to, because it's something thin, I'm going to brush the urethane into the mold once I've got the two parts mixed. So I've got the white, you can't even really tell probably because the cup's white on the inside there, but now I'm going to pour it into part A. You may even be able to hear my 3D printer going in the background there. Got some Spider-Man stuff coming up. So if you like Spider-Man, definitely stay tuned for some stuff going on there for the web head. Normally for these little casts, I use like plastic shot glasses. Again, they're typically clear, but I'm just using stuff that's available to me on hand. Because, you know, I mean, as you cosplay and work on projects, sometimes you just have stuff left over from other projects and you kind of want to see what you can get done. So that seems mixed pretty well. So now I'm going to, I've dipped it in and I'm just going to brush that in, kind of, especially since I've got the Kick It in there, it's not going to take very long to start setting. So right now I'm just trying to make sure I get into all the detailed spots I want to get into. And also I'm going over the edges just a little bit, so there's a little bit of flashing for me to trim. Again, as long as you've got all the stuff you want filled or like coated, you should be okay. So as you can see, I've got the base in there. Now, what I do personally is I'll let that sit. I'll let that sit for a little bit. Wait for the, especially since I've got Kick It in there, I'll wait for it to kind of start thickening. But you have to be careful depending on the size of mold you have. Obviously, once the Kick It starts kicking in, your pot life is very limited. So you want to make sure that you're prepared to be able to use it up quite quickly. Sometimes it's even decent to, let it sit for a little bit, then go ahead and add a little more. Just kind of like that. Let that sit. Let it sit and settle. And then what's in your cup or your mix bowl or what have you, kind of let that thicken up, and then you can always come back to what you have. Also depends, if you're doing a brush mold like this, or brushing into a mold like this, or you're doing like a rotocast, because obviously rotocast is totally different, because that's where you've got usually a hollow mold, and it's in a spinning, or you're either spinning it by hand, rotating, hence rotocast, so you're rotating the cast so that it's just coating the inside so you get a hollow cast, or you've got a wooden machine that basically, some people have made them with drills. I'll probably make one eventually, because I want to cast some Star Wars helmets eventually. But basically what people do is they have a drill or something where they connect it in, kind of make sure that the drill's going, and it does a slow rotation of the mold, and then that will evenly coat the inside of the mold so that you get a pretty even cast. Yep, this is starting to set. Oh yeah. So, get some more on there. And again, these videos at the moment, it's just super basic. It's not like you're gonna go and be an absolute pro. Just like anything else, it takes learning, takes time. There's schools, if you really want to go into, there's online courses, there's in-person courses for especially film industry and stuff like that. I haven't taken any, I'm all self-taught. So I'm sure there's stuff that I'm going to learn along the way, and I'm going to learn from others. But one thing I do want to touch on while this is setting is recasting. Not cool. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking, hey, I'm going to take some guy's emblem or whatever, make a mold off of it, and then start selling that. Not cool. It's very frowned upon in the industry, everywhere. Not recommended. If you want to practice molding, make something basic yourself and go ahead and try that. Probably going to be your best bet. But if you have somebody else's property that they've made, make sure it's okay with them for you to mold and cast it for selling purposes before you go and do that. Otherwise, strictly do your own. Because there are people out there that are willing to make deals and stuff like that. I used to, but I strictly want to deal with my own projects these days. So yeah, just kind of sharing what knowledge I've gained, and hopefully it can help you guys all out. Again, I'm not perfect. Alright. So basically, it's fairly evenly coated in there. At least to my liking, you know, it's, you kind of want to look at it and go, okay, how is this going to fit what I'm working on, you know? Sometimes you might want the cast thinner, you might want it thicker. Who knows? It just depends on what you want and what your needs are. In this case, I want it fairly even. I don't want it thick in some areas and thin in others because this would be going on a helmet. Oh yeah, that's really thickening up quickly. All right. So I kind of got it where I want it. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it for a second while it sets or starts to set. And once it starts to do that, I'll leave it be and we'll come back again. Okay, and we're back. So now we're going to look at the cast here. So one thing I like to do, because even after it's cured, there's the rubber on the back side. It's a little bit, not like super tacky, it's got a little bit to it. So one thing I like to do is just take a little bit of baby powder. Not a lot. See, I just have a little bit. And go and rub it on the back. That way it just kind of makes it nice to touch, easy to grab. There we go. And oops. There we go. So and there's our cast. Now there's some little air bubbles from, you know, the mold basically being older, but it's the basic idea. So basically I'll take this flashing and I'll trim it off. So I'll do that here real quick and then I'll show you guys here at the very end. Okay, and here we have the finished cast and cutout piece. I do recommend, you know, sometimes waiting a little bit longer than you're expecting for the cure to be done, because every once in a while it still will be tacky on the other side. In this case, that's what happened with this A. So when I went to cut it, got a little bit, some ugly wreckage here on the inside of the A, but you know, in this case, it's Captain America. I can use it as like a battle damage kind of look when I go to paint it. So I'm actually gonna let that cure a little longer, but so for example, now this would go on a helmet such as that. So there we go, I've made a mold, made a cast, and then I would, once I made a cast of this helmet, I would be able to glue that right on here. So yeah, kind of neat thing you can do. So like I said, I'll let that sit. Again, this is just a very basic and minimalist tutorial video showing how to do a basic flat mold with some stuff I had on hand. You know, this is a flat mold I've done before in the past. You know, it looks a little dirty, but it's because this extra flashing that happened to get underneath the master, which I don't mind personally, because then it helps, you know, you kind of dictate like the depth. You know, sometimes you can add like an extra piece of foam underneath your master depending on how you've made it, so you can kind of see an extra dip. For me, I'm kind of used to seeing stuff, and I'm used to it, so I don't worry about that as much. But yeah, here's a flat mold with multiple pieces in it, and here's another one I've done, you know. So, you know, it's you can do it. You can, you know, you can get like Oomoo on Amazon Prime for less than $30. So there's that, and then urethane rubber is a little bit. I mean, of course, in general, smooth on products right now, as of April, you know, 2021. There is a shortage of smooth on products due to, I guess, some factory issues at the moment. So some stuff is going to be scarce, but or the price is slightly jacked up. But you can get silicone from I think it's BJP Enterprises. They're fairly new. I'm yet to check out their products. There's monstermakers.com. I've used their latex for quite a few years, and in the last year or so, I believe, they've come out with silicone for people to use as well. So that's a place to check out. But yeah, BJP Enterprises also has urethane rubbers, so I'll probably be checking that out soon and doing a slight review once I've got it, because there's makers out there that seem to really enjoy it. But again, I will be doing a video on doing a simple mold and cast of this Captain America helmet. Again, very basic tutorial on how to do it, fairly cheap. So yeah, looking at like less than $100 to make mold and cast. So and again, I've talked about in other videos, the very first cast out of the mold for this I will be giving away. So make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe, so you get the most updates on that, because the giveaway post for that will be posted on Facebook. Okay, and of course I'll be throwing in one of these A's to go along with the helmet, that way it's not completely bare. So that is the first cosplay attack here at the Rustic Nerd Dad. Hopefully you learned something. If there's anything that you'd like to add or suggest, again, very simple, straightforward tutorial for a basic flat mold for basic cosplay or replica, whatever. All right, thanks for watching, and hopefully catch you guys again soon.